2 points for Donna.
Yeah.
Thanks, God. Okay. So now we're recording. So yeah, so as I was saying, from 1 to 25 talks about mainly the godly soul. It explains that we have two souls, and that the godly soul is the nature of it is to strive and to connect to God, and that what keeps it from not being able to accomplish that or not to feel it, why we don't feel that, is because we have within us an evil soul, and it blocks it, and it like puts a sack over it, and it's not able to express itself. And that our goal in life is really to be able to bring that soul out, and to make the godly soul control the body and not the animal soul. Chapter 26 starts a different topic. After we understood where we come from, how our soul functions, what it strives for, and how close connected we are to God, this whole knowledge of understanding that, and understanding that no matter what, okay. Oh, also, we also learned about a tzaddik, right? That a tzaddik is like closest to perfection. It has no evil. A tzaddik has no evil within him or her, and he does not see the world the way we see it. He doesn't see the klipa. He only sees everything as godly. He loves serving God. But every regular person is not able to be a tzaddik. A tzaddik is born, it's a gift. Mm-hmm. And a regular person, what's the goal? Is to become a benoni. But no matter what, no matter how hard we strive, even a benoni will always have the evil within him. The only difference is that the benoni is so focused and so connected that he will never sin, or she or he will never sin. But every regular person has that evil within him. So this feeling of negativity, this feeling of having that evil within him could bring to depression. And in chapter 26, it introduces sadness, anxiety, depression, negativity, all these negative thoughts and feelings that we may have. And mainly because we're not able to serve God, okay? So it's going to take the ultimate depression, why someone would be upset if they're connected and serving God. And with that, we can apply it to different things. So in chapter 26, it spoke about two different ones. It spoke about someone who's sad because they cannot have something in their life. Either they're struggling with money, or they can't have children, or they're upset about different things that they can't really control. And then the Tanya explains how to deal with it. And I actually shared Instagram video how someone says word to word exactly what the Tanya says. Whenever you're worried, or you have these anxious feelings, or you're sad about something and it comes at the wrong time, right? It's usually going to come when you're working, or when you're not supposed to be sad. Don't push them away. Tell them, yes, you have a point, but I'm going to think about you later.
When I'll be ready.
Exactly. And by putting aside a time when you're ready to think about those, you're in control, and they're not going to bring you down. If you think about those when you're working, or when it's not the right moment, that's when they're negative, and that's when they're going to bring you down.
That was a tip I applied.
It's crazy.
It was life-changing.
Isn't it crazy? And this was written 200 years ago in Tanya.
I applied it. Oh.
And the Tanya tells you that this kind of sadness, where you choose when to think about it, is going to bring you to a better joy, to a bigger joy, to real joy. So this is positive. This is good sadness. This is a good way to have these, I guess, negative feelings, is when you take control and you say, no, I'm not going to think about them now. Now is not the right moment. Now I'm with my kids, or now I'm at work, or now I'm whatever, doing something. I'm going to meditate tomorrow morning. I'm going to give a time, think about those negative feelings, think about how I could find a solution, or if I can't. Sometimes you can't really find the solution, so you kind of come to terms with it, that this is a situation, and only through that you can really experience joy. So it's a positive sadness. In the Torah, if it's a goal in itself, but if you use it in a way to bring you to a better joy, a better situation for yourself, then that's a sadness that's positive. Chapter 27. What does chapter 27 talk about? talks about, okay, so let's turn, you guys can open up your Tanya to chapter 27. And this kind of sadness is not the kind of sadness where you can just put aside and think later or find true happiness. This kind of sadness is a sadness that comes from your nature, from the being someone who's constantly impulsive and has this evil within him, who's constantly reminding him and trying to push to do sins and constantly trying to push him to do evil doing. So it's that sadness that comes from the fact that, and this is talking mainly for a Benoni, but you can apply it to yourself too. It's talking for a Benoni who comes to the conclusion that no matter what he does, every day he's going to have to be fighting the evil within him. Even if he doesn't fall into the trap of the evil, every day he's going to feel those evil impulses and he won't be able to be a tzaddik. That is a sadness that could happen to someone who understands what a Benoni is. Or who, even if he doesn't understand, who gets to a certain level where he wants to be connected fully to God, but no matter what he does, he still has those impulses. And just like we know, for those who know how AA works, who Alcoholic Anonymous, or any other addictions, is for the rest of their life, they cannot touch alcohol. I remember I had someone who was AA recovery, and I was like, I'll give you a little bit for Kiddush. She couldn't even have that drop. Even that drop would push her out. Why? Because human nature cannot get rid of their impulses. We can control them. We cannot get rid of them. And that thought can be very depressing because you feel like you're stuck. So what does the Tanya said? You guys can look inside, okay? Ve'im ha'atzvos eina midagas avainas ela mihir hurim ra'im v'tavas ra'is shenefles b'machshavtai. If, however, his sadness does not stem from anxiety over sins that he has committed, but from the fact that sinful thoughts and desire enter his mind. Okay, so he's not upset about the sins he did in the past or of different things he did. He's upset about his very nature that he, no matter what he does, he has these impulses, these urges. He has these thoughts that enter his mind constantly, no matter what he does, no matter what level he reaches. He cannot get rid of that evil within him. If these thoughts occur to him not during his service of God, but while he's occupied with his own affairs and with mundane manners and the like, he should, on the contrary, be happy in his lot. For although these sinful thoughts enter his mind, he averts his attention from them. Okay, so this is talking about a Benoni. Benoni finally reached a level where he will never sin because he is so committed to God. He is so focused that no matter what, he will never sin. So he's not upset. He's not depressed that in the past he sinned. He's not depressed that, he made mistakes in the past. He reached that level and he's upset that every day he wakes up and he still has these thoughts that are pushing him. He still has these desires. He still has these negative thoughts coming to him, no matter what he does. That can bring him to sadness. And the Tanya tells him, no, he should not be depressed, especially if it comes during when he's doing regular things, his business or just regular things. He should not be depressed because he should realize that even if these thoughts come to him, he is not acting upon them. They're just thoughts. They're just there. But he's not acting upon them. And the very fact that he's not acting upon them, that makes it so much greater. To understand this, I'm going to tell you a story. There once was a Jew who came to the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek was one of the Chabad, the Chabad Rebbes. There were 7 of them, from the Alter Rebbe to our Lubavitcher Rebbe. There were 7 of them. So the grandson of the Alter Rebbe was the Tzemach Tzedek. Okay, so the Tzemach Tzedek was obviously a very big tzaddik, and they would come to him for questions. And one Jew comes to him and he says, I don't know what to do. I'm so embarrassed, but I have no desire to learn Torah. I don't enjoy it. I have to force myself. I don't know what to do. I'm so ashamed about that. Mm-hmm. And the Tzemach Tzedek answered, you don't know what to do? I don't know what to do. What should I do? I love learning Torah, and I find true pleasure when I learn it. And what was he saying? When he said that, the Rebbe retold the story and explained, what was he trying to say? He was trying to say, for me to have pleasure in learning Torah, for me to enjoy Torah is nothing great. I'm not accomplishing anything great because I love doing it. If I love doing it, there's no struggle. It's easy. It's normal for me. But for you who hates learning Torah, who finds no pleasure, and you still do it, that is the greatness. That is the greatness. And this is what the Alter Rebbe is teaching us, because back then, they thought that sadness was part of serving God, that they have to be sad about who they are, feeling certain way, you're thinking certain ways. And that Tanya came and taught something new that was never spoken to about before. The Tanya said, first of all, you'll never get rid of your evil thoughts. You'll never get rid of those feelings, those negative feelings or those evil feelings. But you shouldn't be sad about it, because the very fact that you have those negative feelings, the very fact that you have those negative thoughts and you're not acting upon them, that's what makes you great. This is the struggle. This is the reason why you were created. And you shouldn't be upset about it. You should be like, yay, now I have a challenge that I can do, that I can accomplish. For a kid, when I was a teacher and I had students who didn't listen to my class and got 100, I wasn't like, wow, you're so great. But when I saw a kid who worked hard, who struggled and got 100, for me, I rejoiced. I made a big deal out of it. Exactly. For the kid who got 100 easily, they had different challenges that I had to give them. But that's what I would try to find in class, which I didn't find the school system fair, because they were only focusing on kids who would get 100 and not on effort at all. And in the Torah, it actually shows the complete opposite. Effort is what counts. A tzaddik, it tells you, the Torah tells you, the Tanya teaches us, a tzaddik, there's no challenge. He was born like that. For him, he doesn't see the world the same way we see it. He doesn't see the klipa. Nothing's hidden for him. Nothing's hard. There's no evil thought that come and tries to stop him. It's normal. If we had pleasure in doing Torah and mitzvot, we would do them. If we saw godliness everywhere, we would do them. It's like someone who's eating something harmful, like a poison. Okay, we see them, we're gonna stop them from eating it. A tzaddik, when he sees us doing an avera, he sees us doing poison. He can understand. He understands the importance of a mitzvah and the gravity of an avera. So for him, there's nothing special for him. Well, it's special, of course, but it's not as great as someone who struggles, who has challenges, who has negative thoughts bringing him down, and is still able to overcome it. The Torah respects the struggle, the fight, the battle, the effort. And that's what the Tanya tells us. So for someone who's upset, who's depressed about having these negative thoughts, the Tanya tells him, no, you should rejoice. Because you can accomplish the mitzvah that says you should not follow after your heart and after your eyes, by which you go astray. A tzaddik, his eyes and his mind is fully connected to God, so he can't fulfill that mitzvah. But someone whose mind, whose heart and mind have negative thoughts or sinful thoughts, and is able to keep and not to do it, not to act upon his impulse or his urges, he's keeping that mitzvah of it when it says, and you should not turn after your hearts and after your eyes. The pasuk is not talking about tzaddikim over here. But he's talking of the Benoni like himself, in whose mind there do not enter erotic thoughts, whether of an innocent nature or otherwise. Okay, so it's talking about Benoni, or anyone who is able to become that level, which is all of us. We can't become tzaddikim, but we can become Benoni. We can turn into people who have full control over our impulses, over our thoughts, negative thoughts, over our urges. And when he averts his mind from them, he fulfills this injunction. Our sages have said, when one passively refrains from sin, he is rewarded as though he had actively performed a mitzvah. So it's not only when you do a mitzvah that you're rewarded, but when you're not doing anything, when you're not killing someone and you're not stealing and you're not lying and you're not, doing anything negative, that is also, it's as if you're doing a mitzvah. So when it says that the Jewish people is full of good deeds, is because by not doing things is also a mitzvah, is also something good for God. And that's what God is looking at. He's looking at the effort. Consequently, he should rejoice in his compliance with the injunction, just as he does when performing an actual positive precept. So even if he's not doing something positive, he's not actually, giving tzedakah or lighting the Shabbat candles or keeping certain mitzvot, the fact that he is not breaking certain laws, it is as if he's keeping a mitzvah. It's the same thing, and he should rejoice by that. On the contrary, such sadness is due to conceit. Someone who's sad because he has negative thoughts or impulses or urges comes actually from your ego, because you're not able to accept your very nature. The way God created you is that you have evil within you that you can not get rid of. And if you're upset about it, then it's an egotistic thing. It's because you're not able to accept the way God created you. You have to be real with who you are by acknowledging that, yes, we're not evil, but we have evil within us. You're being very true to yourself. And it shouldn't bring you to sadness. It should only make you realize how much more greater you are every time you do something good, something kind, something nice. It shouldn't be shocking when people do things that are evil in the world. It should be more shocking when people do goodness in the world, because our nature, the human nature, or we'll say the human instinct, is evil instinct. It's very animal instincts. It's very egocentric instinct. It's things that we think about ourselves, anything that's very egocentric, selfish. And every time we're able to control those instincts and go above it, we become human. And when we're able to do a mitzvah, we become godly. So there's 3 levels. We start off with the human instinct, survival instinct, anything that will bring us pleasure and fulfill our selfish desires. And every time we're able to go above that, we become human. And once we do a mitzvah, anything that's written in the Torah, we become godly. So by being aware of what we have, of how low we can become or get to, it should bring us joy, because every time we don't fall into that, we're only becoming greater. And this is what God appreciates. And this is a much a bigger challenge and something more something more admirable than someone who doesn't have that to bring him, has nothing that will bring him low, because he only sees godliness in the world. So for sure he will never sin. It's not as great as someone who does not see it. And not only does he not see it, his impulses, his instincts are that of selfishness and egocentrism and he's able to go above that, that's so much greater. Every time that person does something above his ego and above his selfish impulses. So it shouldn't bring us sadness. There's Rab Zushe Anipoli was also a big chassid of I think the Alter Rebbe, and he told his friends or the other chassidim, he said, I fear one question when I come to heaven. There's only one question I fear. I don't fear them asking me, why aren't you Moshe Rabbeinu, or why aren't you Avram Avinu? That doesn't scare me, because I'm going to tell them, well, I'm not Moshe, I'm not Abraham, I'm not Abraham. Mm-hmm. My biggest fear is that they ask me, why weren't you Zusha? Why weren't you yourself? Wow. Why didn't you live to your full potential? And that's what we should be afraid of. We should realize our strength and our weakness. If we're not aware of our weaknesses, then we cannot know how far we can go. And it should not bring us to sadness, but to realize how every victory we get is a huge deal, and we should rejoice with every victory. We're going to continue reading inside. Hi, Dvorah.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Ve'al kein tzarich likay, wait, okay, yeah, okay, so so on the contrary, such sadness is due to conceit. For he does not know his place, and that is why he is distressed, because he has not attained the level of a tzaddik. To whom such foolish thoughts surely do not occur. So he thinks he's a tzaddik, that he should not have these thoughts, but he's foolish. He doesn't realize that a tzaddik doesn't even have those thoughts. And what would he be? And would that he be a Benoni and not a Rasha for even a single moment throughout his life? Then surely this is due measure of the Benoni and their task. To subdue the evil impulse and the thought that rises from the heart to the mind, and to completely avert his mind from it, repulsing it as it were with both his hands, as explained above in chapter 12. So yes, so his job, he should realize that he doesn't have to try to be a tzaddik. He shouldn't be sad that he has those negative feelings or those negative thoughts. He shouldn't be sad that he has, animal instincts that are pulling him to certain things. He should realize that he will never be a tzaddik, because a tzaddik does not have those things. Those thoughts don't exist in a tzaddik. So of course they won't sin. But if he has these thoughts, that is his mission. His mission is to be able to control them and to be completely above those thoughts, even if they're still there within him, and become a Benoni eventually. This is the goal of every regular person. Now, the Tanya tells us that the thoughts, the negative thoughts, the animal and selfish, egocentric instincts are not healthy, but the battle is healthy. What's the difference? To have these negative thoughts, they're not healthy thoughts. They will bring you down, okay? The more impulsive they are, the more negative, the more they'll bring you to things that are not healthy for you. But the battle, to be able to have that battle, is very healthy. Don't try to remove that battle. Don't try to deny that battle. Don't question that battle while you have it. It's very healthy to have it. It means you're a human being. But the actual thoughts, the actual impulses, anything that you do impulsively is usually not a good thing. Anytime you're anywhere, and it's, believe me, it's a struggle. Especially when educating your kids. You're so impulsive, and every time I have to be like, no, And sometimes I tell my kids I act on impulse, and then I recall them and I say, you know what? I wasn't thinking, I was very tired, but really what I meant was this. Any impulsive thought, speech, action, anything that's impulsive is never good. Very rarely good. We have to be mindful about what we do, whether when we eat, when we speak, when we're in a relationship. And but the battle, to have those impulses come to you and you feel like you have to stop yourself, you know, the way I'm stopping myself, you push it away. It says in the Tanya, you push it away. In your mind, you literally, with your two hands, you push it away. That is healthy, because the battle you cannot get rid of. But you can control your impulses. You can have mind over, how does it called?
Mind over body.
Mind over, no, there's
mind
over body and mind over manner, I think. I forgot what the second word is, but basically you can control that. But don't try to get rid of it. Don't be depressed about it. And this same struggle is what will bring you to higher places. And this is why we're created. The Tanya says this could be your only mission in life. This is your mission in life. And just know that every time you win a battle over your impulse, you crush the Sitra Achbar a little bit more. You know when it says bring a little bit more light?
Yep.
What does it mean? You know, it's very nice to say, but the Tanya gives us an actual way of how you're bringing a bit more light. Every time you're able to control an impulse, you're breaking a shell from the Sitra Achar, from the Klipa, and letting light shine a little bit more. So even if you don't see it physically, it says that every time a person wins a battle within them, they're helping all the people, all the Jewish people are connected, they're helping all the Jewish people win that same battle. And unfortunately, of course, the opposite. Every time someone loses a battle, it takes away from the strength to somebody else. So you'll see in certain generation, they'll struggle with similar things. You know, it's like, I always like when you see people share statuses or Instagram posts, and I'm like, that's so weird. I'm feeling the same way. Why are people posting it? But we're very connected. Human beings are very connected. And every time you fight something, you don't realize that you're helping another person fight.
And why
when
do
it
we
says,
have those battles?
Why do we have those battles? That's exactly what the Tanya says it. Okay, and we're going to continue, and it's beautiful, beautiful thing it says. So, where are we?
We all have them, even if we think people have.
Only tzaddikim don't have them.
Okay, so
tzaddikim, that's what we said. Everyone has battles. Only a tzaddik, which is someone like the Rebbe, and you know, I don't know any other tzaddikim today. I mean, they're hidden, but only people that are really holy don't have these battles, because they're not created the same way. They don't have evil within them.
Godly soul.
Exactly. They only have a godly soul. Their animal soul is completely subdued and turned into something holy. Okay. So every other human being, even a Benoni, even someone who you see for you is very special, still has those struggles. And that's why that's why, first of all, we can understand each other.
Why?
Like, you can be judgmental, because
everything.
if you are, the people who are judgmental are usually people who are not true to themselves. They don't admit that they have that struggle. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're able to overcome it, but admit it. You know that you have that within him. You know these thoughts come. You just happen to be maybe a little bit stronger because your parents educated you a certain way or whatever. There's different reasons why you could be stronger in certain struggles. But the more you understand and you're true to who you are and your human self, the less judgmental you'll be about other people, the more you'll understand other people. Exactly. The more compassionate and empathetic empathy you'll have towards others. Yeah. So our mission, so our whole mission, Dorit asked, why do we have that struggle? Okay, so it's going to go more. It's going to explain it more. I hope that we'll be able to get to there today. So it's to subdue the evil impulse and the thought that rises from the heart to the mind, and to completely avert his mind from it, repulsing it as if it. Okay, I read that already. With every repulsion of this thought from his mind, the Sitra Achra is suppressed here below in this world. Every time you are repulsing a negative thought in your mind, the Sitra Achra, the negative energy in this world, is getting a little bit smaller. Okay? Just know that most of the work was done throughout the generation. It says that our generation, really, the evil is very small, and we're not supposed to fight it. We're just supposed to reveal the good within us. So it's by being more positive. Instead of fighting, we just be doing good. But that's a side note, okay? But I'm just trying to say that the whole purpose of having that struggle is is to make the Sitra Achra less strong, and to make the godliness in the world more strong, to shine. Bisarusa de lasata isarusa de le'ela. And since the arousal from below produces a corresponding arousal above, and everything we do below in this world has an effect on the world above, okay? So we don't see it, but just know every struggle, whether small or big, has an effect in this world and in the world above. The Sitra Achra above, which soars like an eagle, is also suppressed. Lekayem mashikasuv im tagbia kenesher v'gamer misham oradayach ne'um Hashem. Thus, realizing the verse, though you soar aloft like the eagle, I will yet bring you down from there, says God. So what does it say? Is that every time, I guess there is the source of the Sitra Achra is very, very high. Every time we make it smaller, we bring it down. Okay? We bring it down. What does it mean? We bring more godliness down to this world. Okay? Indeed, the Zohar extols the divine satisfaction that occurs when the Sitra Achra is subdued here below. Okay, so in Zohar, okay, we can't understand, but just know that the pleasure that we're doing to Hashem is greatly to bring down the Sitra Achra below is a big pleasure to Hashem. Something I can't understand. It's very spiritual, but I'm just reading it and repeating, you know. But it's just to understand. I don't really understand what we're doing. Every time I could understand in this world that every time we win a battle, we reduce the evil within this world. That I can understand. But then in the world above, it also has an effect. It brings down the Sitra Achra that's above, and it says that it's a huge satisfaction for God, which whatever that means.
But I'm saying he sees his soldiers winning battles.
Yeah, that also. But I think it's more than that. It's not. It's basically we're really having an effect on the world above. Destalek ikra dikdusha brichu le'ela al kula yeser mashvacha achra ve'istalkusa da yeser mechula v'chulu. For thereby God's glory rises above all, more than by any other praise, and this ascent is greater than all else. Okay, it's just bringing different quotes of the greatness of what our little battles that we win does in the world above. And this should bring someone a lot of joy by understanding that this is your mission in life, that every little battle you win, even if you see it as something ugly because you see like so much ugliness, so much impulses and so much urges, things you don't want to do, and you constantly have them and constantly have to fight, it looks ugly to you. But when you realize that every time you win that battle, every time you don't fall into these urges and instincts, and you rise above them, you're winning a battle in this world, and in the above world, you're bringing something down that's very holy. Even if he is engaged all his days in this conflict, okay, so his whole life he's going to have this conflict. It makes me think, I said it a few times, but it makes me think of the philosophy that I forgot which philosopher that says, you bring up the rock and every night it rolls back down. So no matter how much you bring that rock up the mountain, every night it's going to roll back down. The battle itself is actually bringing something. In this world, it's changing this world that we can't see, and it's changing something in this world above. This is what his mission is. For perhaps this is what he was created for, and this is the service demanded of him, to subdue the Sitra Achra. Okay, I'm going to stop a little because I read a lot and I feel like you guys are losing me a little bit. But basically, the Tanya is telling us that this struggle is the very reason why someone is created. The actual struggle, not the thoughts, not the evil thoughts, not the evil impulses, but the actual struggle of having them and being able to conquer them is our whole mission in life.
Are they defining what is a struggle? Because what we can see a struggle, maybe for godly people, is
so there's the holy. Everything that you're fighting with, any impulses you're fighting with, is a struggle, and you're meant to. Now, there's the godly struggles, which is wanting to break Shabbos, wanting to eat non-kosher food, wanting all those mitzvah. Those are the godly. But then, even addictions. Different addictions, different impulses. I mean, it's all within Torah. Torah is to help you have a healthy life, which is selfless and giving and very positive. So anything that is the opposite of selfless, which is egocentric, is against Torah automatically.
Is a battle, is a struggle.
Is a struggle, exactly. So there's the little bit, there's the obvious one, anything that's like obvious, like not kosher, whatever, all those struggle. But then there's also, more internal struggles that are, so all these things, these are battles everyone struggles with. No one could tell you, if someone tells you they don't struggle, either they're a tzaddik, which they wouldn't tell you that they're not struggling, or they're in complete denial and so unhealthy, because to be not aware of your weaknesses will not help you get anywhere. If you're not aware of how low you can fall, then you can't go anywhere. So it's very important to be true to yourself. It's very important to be aware of your weaknesses, of our ugliness, and so that we can become go higher.
That's why maybe there is so much credit to people doing teshuvah.
For sure. Teshuvah, it says, what a teshuvah could accomplish, a tzaddik can never accomplish. Because a tzaddik never fell down. But about teshuvah, when he returns, he goes higher than a tzaddik. So it's very, this is the whole Tanya is about a teshuvah. You got it. Completely got it. I wanted to say something. Okay, so the Tanya is going to continue. I'm not going to say it inside. There's a beautiful thing where Yaakov and Esav, okay? Right. Yaakov and Esav in the Parsha, we know, are two brothers that were born to parents that were tzaddikim. They were perfect, right? They had no struggles. And the mother, when she was pregnant, she had her baby, when she would pass by a place of idolatry, she would feel her baby run, like want to go out and kick and
attracted by.
Exactly. And when she would pass by there was one synagogue from one of like the holy people living there, and she would feel her baby going towards there. So she was so confused. She said, what's wrong with this baby? Why is he attracted to both things? And so she went to actually that synagogue where was Shem, the son of Noah, who was there and obviously was very godly. And she asked him, and she said, well, you have two babies inside, and one is going to be, from one nation, and one is going to be from another nation, and one is attracted to Torah and mitzvot, and one is attracted to idolatry. And yes, when they were born, they had the same education. The mother made sure to give them both a good, healthy education, because this is who they were. And what happened when they were bar mitzvah? Yaakov continued. He continued his path of his parents, and Esav chose a different path of immorality, of evil, and of, I guess, egocentric. Now his father called him and he said, And this is written in the Tanya. They bring this. Ve'ase li metamim ke. What did I write? Sorry, let me find it inside because I can't even read my handwriting. Sorry about that. Where is it? Okay, yeah. So here. It's right here. Do for me delicacies like I love. So what is it? What does he ask him? Plural. So it was referring to two kinds of delicacies. Yitzchak was asking Esav, make for me delicacies. Now we have to understand that delicacies, c'est des... How do you say, Marie, comment on dit delicacies in French? Des... Pas des du manger, mais delicacy, it's very fancy.
Ah, ok, des délicatesses, ok.
Ça se dit
des délices.
Des délices? Délices?
Des lits ou délices?
Délices.
Okay. Des délices. Alors, fais-moi des délices comme moi j'aime. And he said in plural because there was two kinds of delicacies. And obviously, everything in Torah, there's the obvious term, okay? So make me two different kind of foods. And then there's a more spiritual. Okay, so what's the two delicacies that he was referring to? There's a sweet tasting things, like cakes and whatever, anything sweet. And then there's the delicacies that are not usually things you would like sour and spicy. If you eat these things alone, they're not good, or salt, or, But if you know how to cook them well and marinate them a certain way, they can be even better than sweet things, right?
That's true.
What was he saying? Tzaddikim only produce sweet things for God. Everything they do is with love, with pleasure. They love it. It's sweet. They only produce sweet things. What happens? God doesn't only desire. When Yitzchak asked this, really was God asking from us. God was talking to Yaakov and Esav, to the two types of Jews. The Jews that easily love serving God, that easily are connected, and the ones that struggle, the ones that are like Esav, that are attracted to things that are not holy, and to things that are not Torah, and to things that are not godly. And he says, you too can bring delicacies to me. If you take your struggle and you are able to overcome it, your things are going to be like the sour, the bitter, the spicy delicacies that we all love and crave also. I mean, I don't know if everyone loves those delicacies, but I know Sephardim really like those delicacies. And I'm sure there's also Ashkenazi food, like pickles and herring, and those are the things that you worked on to bring out the good. So these delicacies are as good and even better. It's something that a tzaddik can't really bring out, because a tzaddik doesn't have that struggle. Yaakov and Esav, their nature was already predestined in the womb, okay? They both had the same education, but no matter what education they had, Yitzchak and Rivka was not able to change them. She wasn't able to turn Esav into Yaakov, and she wasn't able to turn Yaakov into an Esav, because this is their nature. So don't try to get rid of your nature. Don't try to change your nature. That's not what our job is. What Esav didn't understand was he was able to take his nature and control it and produce sour and bitter delicacies. And that's what Yitzchak, his father, was telling him. Bring me something good. Take your nature that's animal. He loved hunting. He loved killing. He loved being immoral. And if he took that nature and was able to control his impulses and turn it into something good, he would be able to produce those sour, bitter delicacies. And this is the work we have to do today. We all have our struggles. We all have our impulses, and it's not to get rid of it. It's not to try to change it. It's not to try to deny it. Face it. This is how we're created. This is who we are. And try with that nature to be able to go above it and not fall into those instincts. And every time you do that, you will win a battle that will crush the Sitra Achar, that will remove the shell and bring a special light into this world. And this very thought, this very knowledge of knowing the greatness you have that even a tzaddik doesn't have should bring you a lot of joy. This should be joy, because God does not want to see us sad, does not want to see us miserable, but joyful. And this very thought should bring us to joy. Any question? No? Okay.
That was chapter 21.
This is chapter 27, exactly. It explained how really we shouldn't be sad about the way we were created, that it's really, you know what? It says our biggest struggles are our biggest strength. No, I think there's a different...
They often say that problems are gifts, and
it is.
Troubles,
but it's exactly exactly what the Tanya is telling us.
Yeah.
Everything you struggle, the more you struggle with, that means the more light there is within it. I forgot to say. In the Tanya, it says that the more you struggle, the more something is harder for you, don't push it away. Don't try to take it out. Then fight it. Try to see what is it in this struggle that I need to overcome. And when something's even harder for you, that means that's really, it says the things that are the closest to your mission are going to be the hardest thing in your life. So take everything that you struggle most with in your life and try to see, what is it that I struggle with? How can I go above it? How can I overcome it? Because this is where the most light is hidden, and this is where your biggest strength is hidden. And don't push it away. Don't ignore it. Don't remove it out of your life. It's meant to be dealt with and to be overcome.
Yeah.
So, and this will bring you true joy. When you're able to overcome your biggest struggles, it will bring you lots of joy. So this is a lesson for today. I hope you guys all learned something. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week.